All right. Welcome everyone to Sunday Gathering on this beautiful Sunday morning. Thank you for joining myself, Tanya, and Taja for another Sunday of just gathering together and speaking on some very deep but yet very important topics. So we are going to touch on understanding today. So I'm going to let Taja start it off.
Hey, beautiful souls. How are you guys doing? Good morning, Tanya. It is nice to see you. Understanding. I was having a conversation with a gentleman the other day, and he asked me if I understood myself more than I understood myself. And it was something that just jarred something inside my soul. It was something that it was like an epiphany went off. And so we wanted to come to you and we wanted to communicate with you about your understanding. And so as we go through this time in the world, because we're going through a time in the world that none of us has ever experienced. We've experienced it on small levels, but we've never experienced something so massive. We've never experienced so much fear. We've never experienced so much anxiety, so much stress, so much depression, so much suicide. We haven't had this much devastation as far as humanity and its destruction within itself more than any other time that we've seen in our time, in our documented time. And so the thing with that is, and here's the energy behind that. We've been moving more in fear than we've been moving in understanding. The words are very important, and the English language is quite devious when it comes to words. So I started thinking about understanding, which is what we normally know. And it rolls off of our tongue because we've been saying it for so long. I mean, shoot, it's in the dictionary. It's something that we're taught in school. And, it's a word that we utilize all the time. Come on, don't you understand? Don't you understand? And then I had to break down the words because when I was told about understanding, I was like, understand. Okay, understand. Ooh, let's play on these words. So when you look at the word under, the word under means that you're below something, correct? Like I'm under my ceiling right now, I'm under my hand, which means I'm under something. So to understand something means that you have to be under something. But you're standing under something, which means that when I stand under something, it's usually something very external that you're standing under, correct? I mean, I'm asking these, and I'm asking that correct, as you notice, in a question as well as in a statement. Because from the understanding that humanity has about themselves, about the way we're supposed to treat each other, about how man and woman deals with each other, about how children see themselves, is all under understanding, right? We all understand black and white. We understand racism. We understand all these things because we've been standing under these things for so long. They've become umbrellas. They've become houses. They've become the foundations of what we are because we've been standing under all of these beliefs. And then when I started to tap into the inner standing, think about what inner standing means. That means that you have to go inside to stand. And isn't that what it is that we've been trying to do? I never had a name for it until I met this king. And it's inner standing. Do you understand yourself? Do you know your feelings? Do you understand them? Are you under them? Or have you delved into them? Do you understand yourself in the sense of your likes, your dislikes? Or are you under them? Or are you going to go into them and figure out what the hell they are? Figure out what you like and what you don't like, and work on removing the things that no longer serve you and what you no longer want to stand under. And so, as we have this discussion today, breaking down the understanding of self, the communication with yourself, the I am, the I, the me, the inward self. Do you completely, or do you even have a facet or an idea of what's in you, the power that you hold to transform your health, to transform your circumstances, to transform your mind, your surroundings, and what that understanding of you really brings onto humanity? Because when you understand you, instead of being under all the things that you thought you knew, then you start to move right, don't you? Then you start to treat people how you actually want to be treated, and not from the understanding of what you've been under all this time. So Tanya, I'm gonna turn it back to you. And I'm excited about this discussion today because I think that when we start to understand ourselves, then all the fears and all the anxieties and the depression and the sadness and the confusion and the hate can start to heal, and we can finally get to a place where we're not trying to include people through our understanding, but we start to move with them in a righteous way because we finally understand ourselves and know what we bring to the table. And so we let people bring themselves to the table as well. So Tanya, I'm gonna let you take on this one right here. And I want, you know, I'm excited about this. So, you know, I want to hear what you got to give.
Natasha, when you,
Oh, I had to mute you. Sorry.
oh,
I'm working on that because it makes us double echo.
oh, what is now? Okay, how's that? No feedback? Okay. So when you were talking about understanding, actually the first thing that popped up was the art of war. The art of war, if anyone
I don't know. I don't see you unmuted on my on thing there.
Okay, how about
There you
now?
go. There you go.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, perfect. So when you first started talking about understanding, the first thing that I thought about was The Art of War. One of my favorite books. One of my favorite books that speak about strategy. And even though it was written by a military general, a Chinese military general, you can actually take that book and apply it to everyday life. So when you were speaking about understanding, one of my favorite quotes from that book, and I'm going to read it to you because it applies so perfectly. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every single battle.
Mm, mm, mm.
So if you don't have the understanding, which your understanding is going to be ignited by source, that's how you receive your understanding. Your understanding could easily be someone else's perception and thoughts about things. But when you have that understanding from source, then you know you have the correct information and what you need. And then when you apply it and then bring back that understanding, then you know you've gotten it. And you could take that same method and use it when you are looking at the world, when you're dealing with good and light energies or dark and evil energies. When you apply that same method, you can't lose because it's all about spiritual strategy and understanding, and is what gives you that spiritual strategy that you need in this life. And because you have people in the world who cannot be swayed by information that people are just putting out there. They're not followers. These people have mastered the art of understanding because they are not developing their perceptions and what they think is real based off just what someone else is saying. Like something is going to trigger inside of them to say, hey, this is a bunch of BS. I'm not doing this. This is not right. Or their understanding will pop in and tap in and say, hey, no, that's not right, but this is the correct information. And they will be able to receive that download and then start dissecting it and understanding themselves a little bit more based on the information they are receiving from source. So that quote out of The Art of War, that was the first thing that popped up in my mind when you were speaking about understanding. And it's something that I feel is so important, especially in this day and time, for people to receive more information on, because we are living in a world today where people are believing anything. It's like a cult-like mentality. When you look at cults, people who just understand can be pulled into a cult mindset, making a messiah out of a leader who is a charlatan. And because of charisma and because they have some sort of understanding from a source that's not good, they are able to sway people who do not have this ability. And for some people, it don't take much. And that's not good. And this is something that we definitely have to put out and have people develop more, get more information about how to understand instead of understand or and even overstand. So I will hand it back to you, Taja.
funny that you read from The Art of War. Imagine that, something that talks to you about in knowing yourself and knowing your enemy, is knowing yourself. Knowing the enemy in your life really is knowing yourself. Because when you know yourself, you'll know what's holding you back. You'll know if it's second guessing, if it's fear, if it's anxiety, if it's you just straight good, just telling yourself you can't. There'll be a lot of things that you will find within yourself that when you start to understand who you are, you will start to see your isms and schisms. Then your emotions will start to make sense to you. Then the things that you find yourself confused about, you will start to understand from a different perspective. You'd be standing under a completely different umbrella because you'll be standing under yourself for the first time in your life. There's people who they already have that understanding. There's already people who they know themselves. They listen to their intuition so clear. And yet, how do you help everybody else? And so I want to give you guys some tools today because, I'm one of those people. I like to give you a little tool to put in your belt on how to be able to understand yourself. So the first thing that you have to do is first acknowledge yourself. That's the first thing. I acknowledge who I am. I want you to know that those words are powerful and way more powerful than you can imagine. First, you must acknowledge who you are. I acknowledge who I am. And then when you finish acknowledging who you are, then I am connecting with myself. That is also key. That is also key. Okay. You see the ponytail? I'll be having people coming to join the session. So you have to start to connect with yourself. And then when you get into a state of connection, because this is the key part, I am listening to myself. That now takes you into a different realm of understanding because you are finally going within. You get to not stand underneath something from the external, but you are standing in the wholeness of yourself because you are listening to you. And when you have true understanding of your emotions, why am I feeling like this? What are you saying to me? What are you showing me? What do I need to resolve in order to allow the fullness to come through within me? Your emotions are there to guide you. They're not there to control you. People say if you understand your emotions, you'd be better. But if you understood them, you would be free. Because if you stand under your emotions, you might have a little bit of a struggle. But when you start to call them forth, that anger shows up. But what you here for? What don't you feel in control of? How may I help you? Because I know you're in control of everything. So how may I help you? Then you can put yourself in the element where you start to ask yourself some good old questions. Why is my body bringing up this energy of dis-ease, or disease, as you would want to call it on a regular basis? But we know it's a dis-ease within the inner system, within the inner laying. And so, of course, it's going to show the hell up. So when you start to connect with yourself and start to ask yourself some questions and really listen, really actually listen to yourself, then you will find that there will be things that will show up to protect you, to guide you, because everything that you need, you were born with already. You know that. I want you to know that. If you didn't know that, I'm telling you, you should know that. That every single solitary thing that you need, every ounce of guidance, every ounce of freedom is all within you. And it's just literally going by all the understandings of the world and of other people and of what my parents said and what this person said and what that person did. And nobody's moving from their inner standing. And I don't want to say nobody, because I feel I am. I feel Tanya is. I feel that there's some of us that's moving from our inner standing more than our outer. But what I would say to you is not too many people are moving from their inner standing, because you are under so many things. And so today, as you hear this, as this connects with your soul, as the inner part of you wants to be heard. Because boy, if we go from the understanding of humanity right now, with all the fear, with all the stuff that's happening right now, we would be considered to be over with, done with, and screwed. But we are not. And I was asking Tanya this morning, I said, with all of these things that are happening right now, because look, I'm not comfortable with half of what's happening. I'm not comfortable with 85, maybe 90% of what's happening. I'm not going to front. It's a big percentage I am just not okay with in this world. Much before anything and this and all this stuff. Long before that, I was very uncomfortable with the direction that humanity was going in. Very uncomfortable with it. I could still see the hate and the anger and the frustration. I could still see it. I could see the destruction within the family unit. Kids killing kids. Man killing man. Rape, abuse, lies, all the things, so many things. But within all of those things, I realized that when you start to listen to you and you start to understand yourself and move only from what you hear is right for you, not him, her, or it, but for you, the health in your body starts to revive, because you start to move from what you need. The peace of mind starts to resolve. There's a power in your spirit that starts to magnify when you start to understand yourself, because no matter what anybody tells you, you're like, okay, that's cool. That's good for you. You see what I'm saying? Because here's the thing with understanding. Pointing those fingers. Look at that. Do you understand me? Do you understand me? Do you understand me? So what ends up happening? 3 is slapping you right back in your chest. It's still always going to make you force yourself to come back to your understanding. It's always going to force you to come back to yourself. It's always going to force you to come back to your intuition. Because whether you listen to it or not, you're going to be reminded that you have one. And so while we go through this world right now, when we go through this change right now, when this thing right now that humanity is dealing with, I pray for our understanding. I pray that every single one of you today, right now in this moment, can take a moment and listen to your intuition, which is yourself. And so many people are confused by that. So let me tell you what this is, what your intuition is. This is what I've come to understand. Maybe somebody else can give something different. But this is how I've learned, and this is the guidance that I've been given, so I'm going to share it with you. Your intuition is very directive. This voice of God that you're looking to hear, it's not going to be a different voice than your own. You're going to hear yourself speaking to you because you are the reflection. You know, God says, you want to know what I look like? You want to know my energy? You want to know my power? You want to know my might? You want to know what I look like? Pick up your camera and then take a selfie. And you'll see me right there in flesh. And so, if this is, and this was the message, I will be giving this message on the good old Tick of the Talks today, because that was the message that came through to me. You want to know what God looks like? Take a selfie. And you'll see. Because I gave myself to all of you, because all of you get to say the words, I am. So I don't care if you're black or white. I don't care what the history says. I don't care if you're calcified or you're this or you're that, or they call you a devil or you're an angel, or I don't care what it is. You still have the power to say I am. You can make a change. Period and point blank, you could do something. You could make a change. And so when you're looking for this voice, it's going to sound like you. When you're looking for this energy, stand up in the mirror because it looks like you. Because it is you. You are just a reflection of it billions of times. And so, as you listen to this voice ain't no punk. That's what I'm going to tell you. This voice is actually quite bossy because it's very directive. Go left, go right, wake up, don't eat that, don't smoke that, don't take that, don't do that. Now, there's a second guessing that comes in a lot of people, because the same voice that is very directive comes when you ask the question, damn, what should I do? Go left? But then you, beautiful human, start to second guess yourself and start to, oh, well, I wonder if I should go left. And I did it. I could give you a perfect example when I did it too. Oh, I don't know. Go left. If I go left, then it's longer for me to get home because I was walking. It's longer for me to get home. I'm not going to get there. And I don't got no money for the bus. I ain't had no money for the bus. I don't want to see the bus passing me and I can't get on the damn thing. And I ain't going to ask the bus driver to let me on for free. And I ain't got nobody that's going to drive me home. I thought of all the reasons why I shouldn't have went left. And I heard it again. Go left. And you know what I did? I went right. I did not listen. I sure did not. I went right. Because right was what was right for me. Okay? And guess what? In that rightness that I went, as soon as I took the first step, and I don't want to lie to you guys, I don't want to act like I took 15 steps and it happened. The first step right, I stepped on a piece of black ice. And I fell. And bang onto my back. And when I fell, my ankle snapped. And I sat down with that pain for over 2 years. 2 years I sat down with that pain in my ankle. And all I was told to do was go left. And who knows what, I know for sure what would have happened if I went left. First off, I wouldn't have fell. That was number one. because I was protecting myself from it. So I wouldn't have fell. No, I wouldn't have. And the blessing might have came where someone would have drove past and given me a ride or something. Something better would have happened because I kept on being told to go left. And if you just start to trust what's coming from in you more than what you fear outside of you, then you will find yourself in a great place. And Tanya, I turn it over to you. Because on this subject right here, I know I get hella long-winded.
Hey, it's wonderful information, though. It's everything that we need to hear.
Got to unmute yourself. There we go.
It's definitely everything that we need to hear. When also, when Taja was brought this to my attention and we were talking about understanding some, we were in the room. It was the room that you hosted, Taja. It might have been yesterday, which is a really good room, but there was a question from the audience and the person wanted to know how all the intuitives, how they became intuitive, like when did it start for them?
Mm-hmm. I remember that question.
Yes. And if that's not understanding, I don't know what is. So when that question came up and everybody began to respond, it usually happens in their childhood. Because when you're a child, you are more receptive to things, more receptive to the truth, and less of things that are not true. Children align with things that resonate with them. They have a deeper connection with source, with the divine. And they do have more of a deeper understanding than adults do because they're not swayed by any and everything. So one of the earliest recollections that I provided was when I was about 9 years old. And I gave the example of when my intuitive ability started because I've always communicated with the spirit realm, but I never knew what to call it. And my first recollection was when I was about 9 years old and I developed childhood asthma at 9. But I did not get a diagnosis till I was 14. So from 9 to right at 14, my guardians, they were telling me what to tell my mom to get me to help me to feel better. And the things that I was telling her was something that a 9-year-old child wouldn't say. Like I would say, Mom, I think if you can get me some vitamin C. And then she was like, what, vitamin C? I said, yeah, like orange juice, but vitamin C. And I would tell her to get that. Then they will come and they'll say, while you are trying to heal yourself, make sure, and they got on a child level, they said, make sure you're not eating greasy foods. Make sure you're not eating sweets during this time. And I remember my mom had fixed some country style steak, or, North Carolina, we call it cube steak. And she fixed that, and, it's full of gravy and all this other stuff. And I remember going in the kitchen and they spiritually slapped me on my hand and said, don't eat that. And she was like, well, come fix your plate. I said, well, I just want the vegetables. That's all I want. And she was like, okay, not knowing that I was dealing with that illness. And then when I turned 14 and I started to rebel against the established connection that I had with the spiritual realm, then that's when I had to go to the doctor and get a diagnosis and start getting inhalers and that kind of thing. So even if if you have children, they are not too young to understand or get the information and know about understanding, because once you release that information to them and you're talking about understanding, then they may come back and tell you a few things. And it's just like Like in the Bible, when Christ talked about be as little children, he's not saying, be childlike mentally, but what he's saying is bring your spirit back to a level of being humble and gaining understanding, getting back to your creator, your source, being connected, so that when you receive downloads, you will begin to understand. Be ye like little children, not being childlike, not being mentally the thought of a child, but bring yourself to a level of humility, a level of in a place that you can receive downloads, understanding, and be able to walk out in the earth and not be swayed by any and everything that is out there, to the point where you're absolutely confused by everything and in fear of everything. But you're in a place where the world could be collapsing around you. That's what it feels like today. The world could be on fire around you, but guess what? You can walk through that fire because you have the understanding and knowing that once you walk through that fire and get on the other side, there's something great. Even though the rest of the world is in chaos, they know not. They're saying, I'm not going to walk through that fire. I'm going to get out of Dodge and go the other way. But your understanding is telling you, walk by faith, not by sight. So I'm going to keep walking through where the others think that they have some level of understanding or not, because the fear has taken in. So you're walking by faith and not by sight. And you get to the other side and say, hey, my creator said that this is going to happen. I'm glad I stuck through it. I'm glad I persevered through this whole thing. And that's just what we have to stand on in our belief, that even though we have all this chaos and all this stuff going on in the world, don't move on the same vibrational wave of the world. Move on the vibrational wave of the creator, your guardians. They're there for you to help you through it. You move on that vibrational wave, because the minute you level down to what the world's vibrational wave is, that's when you get caught up in other things that are not of a higher power. Tasha, I think I lost you on one end. Still there? All right. Sorry, guys, we're doing the live stream on YouTube as well. So I'll wait till Tasha hops back on. And while we are waiting, I want everyone to just take the opportunity to just sit with yourself and think about what understanding means to you, based on what we have talked about or based on your own level of knowledge. And if you would like to comment on it, how does understanding help you navigate through the craziness of this world? Like, how do you get through it? And it'll be popcorn style, so y'all can just unmic. But I want to know, how do you get through it?
Tanya and Tasha, first of all, good morning, both. And I want to hit on something. I want to hit on something. You ladies talk about so many topics from this moment forward, and you've spoken on so many topics from this moment into the past. But I stand firm when I say this. Today, this topic that you're talking about will be, is, forever will be the most important topic that you can ever speak life into someone on. Let me say that again. This topic this morning is and forever will be the most important topic that you can ever speak life into someone. And let me explain what I mean. It was this topic that took me from who I used to be to the woman that I am now, to the woman that I will ultimately become. It is also the topic that I struggled the most on with my teenage daughter. This is also the topic that saved my life one morning. And let me tell you what I mean. I'm a lover of words. I love words. I chase them like crazy. And while you two were talking, I looked up the word understand. I just want to dive into something, and I'm going to try to make this quick so everyone else can speak. Understand means to comprehend or to grasp the idea, to receive from a word or words or from a sign what that idea is intended to convey. So it's to comprehend or receive. So I'm going to say this. No matter where you stand, the position that you hold, whether you're positioned under, out, or in, it's all about how are you comprehending. You ladies said some things that are so powerful. The most important thing, Tanya, you said, how are you going to move? How are you going to move? Are you going to move on a higher frequency, a higher vibrational wave? That means if you're standing stagnant, which a lot of us are in life on different issues in our lives, if you're standing stagnant and you want to know how to operate, you're going to have to operate from a position of true comprehension, whether you're underneath, inside, or outside. And you said something else that was so powerful. How are you powered? When you understand, you are powered by source. Tasha, you said, and I caught it. You said when you understand, you are free. I didn't catch what you said. If you could repeat what you said about understand. When you understand, you're this. When you understand, you're free. Can you repeat that?
Probably have, oh, there she is.
What I was saying was when you understand, you're under still, it's like you're still imprisoned under an idea, under an ideal, under something that someone else has imposed on you. But when you have a state of understanding, then you become free of all the barriers that has been laid on you, that glass ceiling in a sense. You're no longer having something to hit anymore. You now know that you have an inner peace within yourself, an inner freedom that will actually guide you through every element and every step.
Okay.
That state of freedom that starts to come through you actually, guides every step, makes you wake up in the morning, put on the right outfit, eat the right foods. It actually brings you in such a state of freedom that people are looking at you and they're like, oh my God, you're glowing. Like, you're radiating. What's going on with you? And that's because you are in a state of understanding. And so the more you understand yourself, the freer you become. You take all that stuff off yourself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let me tell you where I went really quick in my journey. This goes on to say, literally, when you understand or you're in a mode of comprehension, you're standing in the midst of. What I had to learn through my journey of understanding is that I was standing in the midst of impositions from other people. And I had to sit with myself and really tap into, while I'm in the position of understanding, what must I understand? I'm underneath something, and I love to garden. I love gardening. So I had to look at this thing. If I was standing underneath the dirt, what must I be tapping into? And what I found was when you're standing in a position of under your umbrella, your home, whatever it is, you need to tap into the root of it. Tap into the root of it. And I promise everyone listening, the root of it is always your value. Tap into the root of your value when you're in a position of understanding. And your value cannot be in positions from what other people have placed on you. When you tap into your value, transform into that understanding like Tanya and Taja are talking about, where you're powered from the source. Now you know your value, you know your worth. You're not working on what someone else has told you under the construct of what other people have designed you to be. No one knows your makeup, your DNA, or what you're destined for. That's for God to know. That's a forever conversation and journey between you and God. You tap into that, and then you start becoming free and freeing yourself up. And you're working from a position of understanding because you're powered by the source. So the reason why I say this is so important is because you ladies can give them every message they need from in any place. Any place. It can come directly from God. But if you don't understand how to move, how to stand in the midst of, how to be powered, then you won't understand. You'll do what Tasha did. Her intuition told her to go one direction, she went the other, and she paid for 2 years because of that. You won't know how to move. So I'm just so thankful. I wish there were a billion people in this room right now, because this is why I say this is the most important message that one could ever receive and understand and begin with, because it teaches you how you operate in this world. And it teaches you where you need to receive information so that you will know how to operate, how you are truly powered. And so I just want to share that, because this topic saved my life. It saved my life, literally. So thank you, ladies. I love you and I appreciate you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Anyone else have anything they would like to add?
I would. So when I was growing up, I didn't know that they had a title for it, but I was an empath. But at the time, like, it was a lot of I feel like it was a gift that was created because of the trauma that was around me. Like, I felt like it was important for me to be able to understand the feelings of people around me, so that I knew how to. And then I also just felt extremely overwhelmed, because sometimes I wasn't even trying, and I could just feel emotions like they were mine. But so anyway, so as I've grown up, I've recognized my my inner system, as well as like my spirit team, and how to set boundaries. And I feel like understanding, which is basically connecting your like inner self, so like your energy, your spirituality, your emotions, like that, and combined with like your ancestors or spirit guides, and just folks who guide you along the way, create this shift. And for me, I feel like it took those empathic gifts out of my shadow self and moved into my higher self. So like now when I walk into rooms, I know how to put an energetic boundary, so I'm not feeling everything that's happening. And then also when people feel drawn to me and want to tell me their life stories, like I'm also able to set up a boundary within myself. Like I immediately start grounding into meditation so that it's a gift that stays in my higher self that I can use and access when it's time versus like whenever, you know. So I believe that understanding has been such a huge shift for me. Um, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Tasha, we're having a lot of technical issues. Right, just give us one moment.
So we thank for the understanding of yourself, for going in within ourselves and growing, and loving ourselves and accepting ourselves for the magnificence that we were created to be. I thank you for the understanding today that no matter how many souls are touched by this moment, understanding that we have of ourselves today will magnify in the most wonderful and powerful ways, because we will be giving ourselves the opportunity to connect, to see, to trust, and to know. We thank you for this day. And we thank you for the understanding of each other. That as we know ourselves, we know each other. As we love ourselves, we love each other. As we trust ourselves, we can trust each other. And as we move in our own divine light, we can see the divine light in others. So thank you for this day. Thank you for what we'll be able to share with the world. Thank you for the understanding that we are. Thank you for sharing so with me.
And amen.
Okay. We have one more.